Happy Tuesday, everyone. I am Tiffany Service Gustafson, a digital strategist here at BWG Connect, and we are a network and knowledge sharing group. It's what we do. We stay on top of the latest trends, challenges, whatever it is that is changing in the digital landscape. We're on track to do almost 500 of these virtual events this year to better understand everything digital. And we also are on track to do at least 100 in-person small format dinners. So if you happen to be in a tier 1 city, feel free to shoot us an email and we'd be happy to send you an invite. These dinners are typically around a specific digital topic, and it's always a good time. Here at BWG Connect, we spend the majority of our time talking to brands to stay on top of the different trends. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, so feel free to drop me a line at Tiffany, Tiffany at bwgconnect.com, and we can set up some time to chat. It's from these conversations that we generate topic ideas, what we understand people want to learn more about. And it's also where we gain our resident experts, such as Returnalyze, welcome, who is here today. Anyone that we asked to teach the collective group has come highly recommended from multiple brands within our network. So if you're ever in need of any recommendations on anything in the digital space, feel free to contact me and we can put some time on the calendar. We have a short list of the best, which within the digital space, and we would be happy to share that information with you. Also, we know a lot of people are hiring right now. So do note, we do have a talent agency, BWG Talent, that I'd be happy to put you in contact with as well. A few housekeeping items. We started about 3 minutes after the hour. So rest assured, we will wrap up at least 3 to 4 minutes before the end of the hour, giving you time to get to your next meeting. And we want this to be as educational and conversational as possible. So please put into the chat, into the Q&A. If you feel more comfortable, you can email me. I put my email into the chat bar, Tiffany at bwgconnect.com, with any questions or comments that you would like covered through the duration of the conversation, and I will be sure we get to them. So with that, let's roll and start to learn about how to turn those unwanted returns into a superior customer experience. The team at Returnalyze have been great friends, partners of the network. Christine and Ellie, I will kick it off to you. If you can give a brief introduction on yourself, that would be awesome. And then we will jump into the information. Thank you.
Sure. I'll dive in. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Tiffany. My name is Christine Bradford, and I am the VP of Customer Success at Returnalyze. I'm really excited to be here today to be presenting to all of you.
And hi, I'm Ellie Hamrick. I'm the Senior Director of Operations at Flint. We are a luxury women's footwear company, and we use Returnalyze to analyze our returns. So really excited to have this conversation with you all today.
Awesome. Well, Christine, you can kick off the presentation. And again, anybody who just joined, feel free to put any questions or comments into the Q&A chat bar, or feel free to email me, and let's rock.
Awesome. Thank you again. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of your busy day. I also wanted to take a moment to thank BWG Connect, or BWG, for hosting the event, and Ellie from Flint, of course, for participating in the conversation. Also, happy International Women's Day to all the women. Also on behalf of Flint, which is a woman-run organization. So I wanted to make sure I noted that today as well. So thank you again for joining us as we talk to you about how you can turn your unwanted returns into a superior customer experience. So I have just a couple of slides that we're going to go through here. And I think we can all agree when I say that returns are at the forefront of everyone's minds. So e-commerce is growing and is projected to continue to grow with no slowdown in sight. As you can see here on the slide, by 2025, e-commerce sales are expected to be 25% of total retail sales. And as more shoppers are buying online, the retailers, of course, are reaping the benefits of these online sales growth, but they're also now having to deal with a jump in returns as well. So what do you guys know about your returns? Did you know that not all returns are created equal? So imagine if you had the visibility to learn more about your returns and then be able to differentiate between the acceptable ones and the unwanted ones. So just to give you guys some examples, acceptable returns are the ones that there's nothing wrong with the item. The customer experience was just as it expected to be. but she simply just didn't like the product. She tried it on just as she would in the store, but she just didn't like it. Or she realized, as I often do, that maybe I don't need a third sweater in the same color in my closet, and I could probably do without this blue sweater I don't need. That's an acceptable return. The unwanted returns are the ones that could have been avoided or prevented. And 72% of returns are preventable. So just to give you guys another example, I was on the hunt this past winter for a tall nude boot. And I was looking all over the place, finally found one that I liked. In the imagery, it looked nude. I got it in the mail and the boot was pink. So now I'm like, I didn't order a pink boot. This is not what it looked like on the website. I have to go to the store and make a return. So now I'm irritated. I've had a bad customer experience. And this return could have simply just been avoided, or it didn't even need to happen had the imagery been correct on the brand's website. So these are just a couple of examples for you, but there are obviously many more out there. So once you're able to really differentiate between your returns and have that visibility, what does that do? It really drives a lot more visibility into your business. And because of that visibility, you can now take the appropriate action to correct the problem and prevent the return from reoccurring. They say knowledge is power, right? So acting on that knowledge is even more powerful. You will be able to improve the customer experience and drive more loyalty. Taking control of your returns will also improve your bottom line and operational expenses, which no one can disagree with putting a little bit more money in your pocket, right? And then continuing to perpetually work on your returns will ultimately reduce them. And by reducing the returns, you're also going to help the environment, which for everyone ends up being a win-win. So you can't disagree with that either.
Love that. Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump into a question right away because I'm going to assume that a retailer has some sort of process or software in place and that they have information on those unwanted ones. Could you tell me, taking that data, how could you improve the customer experience?
Sure, I can speak to that.
Awesome.
So one of the things that we did with the Returnalyze team is a bracketing analysis, and we learned a lot of really interesting information about our new customers. And as a rapidly scaling business, our new customers are so important to our ability to meet our goals and to, support the, future revenue of the brand. So what we learned in the bracketing analysis is that understandably, it's taking new customers a bit of time to learn what their size is. And we were also able to really narrow in on which products specifically customers were having a hard time with fit. So we were able to update our website with recommendations on adjustments to the sizing and et cetera. So that's just one example of how we were really able to take the data and improve the customer's direct experience. We also saw it with color and materialization as well, where, to Christine's point, that was not a Sarah Flint shoe, by the way, I hope. But we did find, there are certain instances where like a certain color was, people were returning it saying it was not as expected. And so we're improving the product imagery, we're adding video content, we're able to really sort of narrow in on what are those areas that are producing the unwanted returns, and then identify what the action is that we need to do in order to prevent them.
Super interesting. So I can only assume then taking that data and being able to utilize that with your product development team. And what does that look like?
Yeah, our product development team is one of the most involved in the work we do with Returnalyze, just because we get so much great information about, what people are buying and keeping and returning ultimately. And so as we were heading into designing our fall 23 season, we did an analysis on some past boots that we had sold. And we found right off the bat that there were some really strong performers that just made like total sense to bring back immediately, just based on the fact that their return rates were so low. And, those were really driving profitable sales for us, especially at the high price point that boots, command. But what we found is that there were definitely there was a fit issue with one of our key styles or key silhouettes that we really wanted to go forward with and believed in, but it was clear that there was a fit issue with the customer, and the return rate reflected that, and it just was causing the product to be unprofitable for us. And so we were able to take that and use the data of what customers ended up keeping to inform adjustments that we made to the actual structures that the shoes are built on, and the development for the upcoming seasons. And I know I touched on it earlier, but we've also been able to make a lot of strategic decisions around colors. With the bracketing analysis, we were able to see if a customer buys white and sand, they're more likely to keep the white. And so that just really helps us, know where we should be investing in, and then also, where are areas that we can cut or perhaps have duplicity for our customers. And we want to make the assortment a little bit more streamlined.
Awesome. Well, let's touch on bracketing. Could you maybe give the audience, what is bracketing and what is that behavior? And how are you able to use that to learn more about your business and your customers?
Sure. Bracketing was a analysis that I think everyone in the company was so excited to do because, as we all see the orders coming in that sometimes have multiple versions of the same size. So bracketing is when a customer is going to purchase multiples of either the same product in different variations. So for example, the same product in 2 different colors, or the same product in 2 different sizes, or the same product in 2 different heel heights. And what we were able to find is that when customers were bracketing on color, for example, so purchasing, let's say, a black and a red of the Emma pump, they're more likely to keep both pairs than if somebody is bracketing on size or heel height, which in that case, they were much more likely to make a return. And those returns, and therefore those orders, were much less profitable than people who bracketed on colors. So what we found out of that is that we really want to encourage people, to continue to build their basket with more, multiples of colors. And we want to do everything that we can do to avoid customers bracketing on size and heel height. So that means making sure that, the PDPs, the product displays on the website are very, very clear, that our fit and sizing information is super, on point. Just anything we can do to prevent the customer needing to make that purchase with the 2 products, and instead, have confidence in that first purchase that in their size.
Awesome. Just a reminder, anybody, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat. And also, if you have any experience in like how you're combating your returns or any stories to share, definitely feel free to share, and we will definitely talk about it. Okay, so I am definitely guilty of some bracketing in my time. I didn't know what it was called, but now I know. I'll be more aware.
Now you'll be aware when you go to do it. You'll be like, oh, I'm a bracketer.
No good.
Retailers call it wardrobing as well. So it's known in the industry as wardrobing. So we hear both terms. But I think the great thing, to Ellie's point, is being able to understand. So I think a lot of retailers are like, what's happening with wardrobing? What are my customers even doing? What are they keeping? Is it bad for my business? Is it good for my business? And you heard with Ellie's example that, you're able to differentiate, understand how you wanted to drive the customer behavior to benefit the business, and then what you wanted to work on to go ahead and help curb the returns. So, and it's also interesting to see the type of attributes that people bracket on, because I think the industry out there's a perceived notion that everyone just brackets on size, where we're finding that that's not the case. People are actually bracketing to try on different colors, and then they keep the different colors. They heel heights. They may try different material types. So any really product attribute that you have, people are wanting to bring stuff home in multiples and try out the different style variations.
Do you see bracketing happening during a sale or promo where people see that deal and then just bulk up because the price is right?
I think that there is some of that, but we have a very limited promotion schedule. Our core products only go on sale really over the Black Friday period, where we do a buy more, save more promotion. And as such, I think, there certainly, I think, is some risk there of people who do bracket during that promotion. But we really find that that promotion is a time where our returning customers like stock up on product, because it's their only opportunity throughout the year to, get that shoe at a discount. So it's, that far outstrips any potential unwanted bracketing behavior during those periods. And then all of our sales are final sales. So it would be unadvisable to the customer to bracket. And we work really, really closely with the customers during sale periods to make sure that we have extra customer service support and those kinds of things, so that customers can have that, certainty when they make the purchase. But on I think, to Christine's point, on our full price purchasing throughout the year, we're really able to see, okay, this is the behavior we want to narrow in and go after more of, which is, getting the customer excited about multiple colors or multiple materials or et cetera. And then, deterring them from making the choice between, size or heel height, which they're less inclined to keep a pair.
Got it. So yeah, you guys are very disciplined in what you do promote and do sale pricing on, and then having final sale makes obviously a big impact on that. But for brands that do go heavy into promotions and have some, knockdown pricing, there's always that awareness to just be like, there's a bracketing threat here in theory, and something to note that I've witnessed working on the home side in the past life before BWG. So going back to returns, the experience. So I know personally, when I buy from a new site, I'm already a little apprehensive. It's a new experience. Now I bought for the first time and it was a bummer of an experience. Now I have to return the item and it's a pain. And I'm just curious, the data around somebody like that first time buyer that had a bad experience versus a buyer who has bought multiples in the past and is long-term and had a bad experience. What does that look like?
Yep, absolutely, Tiffany. So it obviously is going to vary by brand and the products on the market and that sort of thing. But typically what we see overall is that if it's a first time buyer who made a return on a first purchase, their likelihood to repurchase from that brand drops, by an X percentage. The stat that we always like to use is that they're 90% actually less likely to buy from you again. And I have seen certain brands have that number. So after a first purchase, it does drop to where there's only a 10% likelihood that someone will repurchase again after making that return. Sarah Flint's business, the brand's a little bit stronger. So on a stronger brand, that number may not drop so drastic, but there is that fluctuation from, the purchase to a repurchase. So what we like to do with our, when we work with the brands is just understanding what that looks like to be able to make sure that you are making the customer experience as good as possible and making sure that, you're preventing that return from happening. Or if it does, you can reach out subsequently afterwards, perhaps with a marketing promotion or customer service rep, and reach out and say, hey, we know you had a bad experience with that return. We'd like you to come back and try us again. And so that's how we like to partner with our clients to be able to go ahead and try to curb some of that.
Awesome. And Ellie, do you want to elaborate that on your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everything Christine said is absolutely the case. We certainly do see a dip in repurchase rate when a first-time customer makes a return. So, we want to do everything we can to avoid that first-time customer making a return, because if they're not repurchasing, then we're missing out on their entire future lifetime value. And for a brand that wants to scale and grow in the manner that we are, that future lifetime value of the customers that you're acquiring today are so important, is so important in, our ability to grow. So I think that's really been an area that we've been focusing on a lot with Returnalyze, is identifying kind of the areas that are clearly causing the most friction for first-time buyers. Sizing has certainly been a big discussion, and just trying to get as clear as we can with like, what is their Sarah Flint true size? But I think that it goes across sort of all aspects of the customer experience as to, what can we do to make sure that their first experience is as superior as we possibly can make it, so that we are reducing the likelihood that they're going to make that first time return.
So yeah, 90%, that is a big number. Wow. So Ellie, question for you, being a luxury retailer. I'm sure that when you are shipping out something to your customer, you expect it to be in excellent condition, on time, the perfect experience. And we all know with the challenges of supply chain across all industries and countries, how can you take that reality, which we're all dealing with, and then also learn from your returns data to help you improve efficiency and overall customer satisfaction?
Yeah. So one of the great features of Returnalyze that we've been utilizing is their visibility into supplier performance. So what we've been able to see, for example, is, we had a supplier that we were using for hair accessories, and we found that there was an elevated return rate, and that there was clearly a damage issue going on with some of those products. And we were able to use that information to address the supplier and really give them concrete information on how their products are performing for us, and allowed us to kind of make strategic decisions in who our manufacturing would be going forward. So I think, the visibility into sort of not just how the products are performing on a style level, but how the products are performing on a manufacturer level, especially the larger you grow. And if you have potentially one style being produced across multiple factories, it becomes really important to track and identify if there's a clear issue in your supply chain somewhere. Oh,
it's obvious that your team takes it very seriously and making sure that it's a good experience, and taking that data and really utilizing it to level up that experience. And when you're looking at the data, is it siloed in e-commerce only, or could a brand utilize it for their brick and mortar business as well?
Yeah, so we've been utilizing it. We actually have 3 channels of business right now. We have our online business, our brick and mortar business, and then we also have a channel called Brand Ambassadors, which basically we have a lot of micro influencers who promote us. And, that's a real driver for growth for us. So it's been really great to be able to see our returns performance across those 3 channels, and really, narrow in on on what the issues are in each particular, cohort of customers. For example, for brand ambassadors, it becomes very easy to see if there's a brand ambassador that's very unproductive for us on a net basis. So maybe they're making a bunch of sales, but everybody's returning. That's a brand ambassador we're going to want to churn out of the program. In retail, it's being able to see, are we seeing elevated returns by door, and what products are being returned in store versus online, et cetera. So having that visibility by channel really has helped us kind of form strategies around each individual channel and the returns that are associated with them.
It also lets you see the full picture. So Sarah Flint recently started to launch some brick and mortars and pop-up stores. So as they're adding channels, it's easy to be able to, look at the data in real time. And as they've launched those channels, to see where things are getting returned and what's going on. Another example I love to use is, with that visibility online and offline, sometimes you can understate a return if you're only looking at your online returns and you haven't considered what's also coming back in stores. So being able to see throughout the channels where items are coming back lets you actually see the full picture and pinpoint issues much easier than just looking at one channel.
Awesome. Again, if anybody has any questions, comments, please put them into the chat and we will get to them. I want to go back to the reality of doing business of today and with the challenges of supply chain. And just, we know all retailers are uber busy and there's so many things to focus on, and bandwidth is limited. So how important is it to make returns management a top priority on your roadmap in 2022 and beyond?
So I'll start from the perspective of Returnalyze. We would say it is very important. I think, just focusing on the customer's pre-purchase and then during purchase life cycle stages is a thing of the past. You have to be able to carry through to the post-purchase experience and make sure that it's flawless throughout. So I would say, and as we talked about earlier, where online and e-commerce just continues to grow, it's ever so more important to be able to prioritize returns from a visibility perspective, but also to elevate that customer experience. And then I think Ellie's provided a lot of examples of where they've been able to take the returns data and apply it to their business throughout. So from my perspective, we think it's very important for retailers to prioritize in today's world.
And Ellie, you're growing fast, so you're the perfect person to ask, is like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask anybody in operations or customer service, that returns are like the biggest headache in the world. And so if you have the biggest headache in the world, that's definitely the thing that you want to address first, in my opinion. And, returns are costly, they're difficult to manage. There's so many reasons why we want to reduce them. And, at the end of the day, it makes a significant difference to our bottom line, to be able to get rid of unwanted returns. And I think, it's attacking it from both ends too, because not only are we working to drive down our return rate and thus, increase our net revenue, but we're also working on, the front end of the customer experience on identifying what are the reasons that somebody might make a return, and let's go solve for them before the customer gets there. So we can improve our customer experience on site and, et cetera, so that when they go and ultimately do make that purchase, they're not going to return it. And, I think that it's just been hugely important to us as a brand that's growing very quickly to understand where our returns are coming from and understand which ones we're okay with and which ones we're not okay with, because it does make a big difference in meeting our goals and growing the business.
Awesome. I was a director of e-commerce for a home furnishings company, and returns was a big initiative for us. And we really had to get granular into the data and dissected it. And I saw firsthand what an impact it can make on the bottom line. What I wasn't thinking about at the time, but was equally impressive and very exciting, was the team morale. And especially when you're dealing with customer service departments, warehouse staff, to see them look at the product differently, because they're in a silo of, they're a lot of times dealing with the problems, and you do have some wins here and there and you celebrate them. But for them to watch all that work that we went in to analyze it, to then actually have an outcome that was positive, to see the staff be engaged and excited was very, very exciting to me. And just curious if you've seen that as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that, we work with a 3PL, so we're not as connected probably on the day-to-day of the warehouse stuff. But I would say, working cross-functionally internally, it's been, especially as a young growing brand, like we're always acquiring new skill sets and knowledge centers and that kind of thing. And for each department to really be able to sort of take ownership over returns, because it impacts the entire business. It's not siloed to just, one area. And I think that, what you're saying about customer service and warehousing always having to deal with like the brunt, hard reality of returns, like kind of spreading that ownership around to the broader company, I think has been so valuable in understanding, each department's impact that they can make in addressing it. And I think it's just really empowered our team for the better.
And Christine, have you seen success stories on your end as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's just really invigorating every time we meet with the Sarah Flint team, because we'll get very excited to see ourselves, the impact of the changes that they're making, or be part of the conversations of future product development or product assortment, and all of that. But we do see it across all of our clients, where the multiple stakeholders come together, and it's really exciting for them to see a process improvement, or, when the aha happens and they're like, oh my goodness, this is why we had an issue here, or, things were getting packed. We had one client that had multiple distribution centers, and we were able to find a pick pack QA problem in one. And he goes, I would have never found it had I not seen this data. And when we went to visit, he showed us the new cataloging system and how they were getting organized. And you could tell they were so excited to fix a problem that they had. And they knew that from then on, they wouldn't be sending the customer the wrong item or an incorrect item. So we definitely see it on our end as well.
That's fantastic. I do have a question here from the audience. Are there any insights or case studies on how Returnalyze has helped skincare and beauty brands, since returns in this industry are tricky due to usage and benefits, which don't really produce bracketing?
Yep. So we don't have a particular case study in the skincare industry at this time. But, I think the same type of insight that we've been able to provide to Sarah Flint, we could do for the skincare industry. Yes, people don't bracket, but, they may get the product at home and realize that oftentimes with skincare, if it's a bottle, I don't realize what size bottle I'm buying online versus then getting it and going, crap, it's too small. Or the foundation tint wasn't, entirely the correct foundation that I needed. And now I have to return it because I have to try a different tinted color. Or the lipstick, I get it and it's too red. It's not the right shade. We look at all the different product attributes to be able to understand what's going on and why the product's getting returned. So it may not necessarily be due to bracketing. It could be due to the packaging, the product itself, the website and how the website is describing the product So again, yes, you get stuck on the milliliters of the bottle and the, the shape of it or whatnot. And then you get it in the mail and you're like, okay, this wasn't exactly how it was pictured on the website. And maybe the description has to change, that sort of thing. So we can certainly apply the same sort of tactics to derive at the same insights and results for skincare.
Excellent. And when you're extracting the data, one challenge I had in the past was the data would aggregate to, let's say, a category level or a customer level, but I could never get down to that SKU level. And are you guys able to do that?
Yes, absolutely. So we drill down to the SKU level. We also drill down to the customer level. So we're really able to see everything down at the SKU detail and at the customer level to be able to identify specific issues, because sometimes it could be just a size problem. So you've got, a style where you don't think there's an issue, but the size 5, isn't quite right and the last wasn't created correctly. And you can identify that by going down to the SKU level. Again, perhaps there's one color that's wrong in the product assortment. So just being able to drill down at the SKU level and then also look at the individual customer behavior allows us to really pinpoint the issues.
Mm-hmm. And from the customer or channel level too, I noticed that we could have overall a very low return rate on a certain SKU. But then if you looked at it at a channel specific, one channel was very high and some were very low. And then the why comes in. And I'm assuming too, with this data, you can really drill into the why that channel is higher than the rest.
Yes, absolutely. So kind of going back to Ellie's example earlier with the channels, right? So being able to understand by channel if a product is being returned higher in one channel or another, or maybe just seeing it throughout the channels and understanding that it's always highly returned regardless of the channel. We can see the at the channel level. Something else, down to the ship time and how that might also impact things. We've often found that there's a breaking point with customers where I'm expecting something in 3 to 4 days and then it shows up 7 days later and now I forgot why I ordered it. I don't want it anymore and I'm going to return it because I'm upset that it's late. So we can absolutely look at channels and ship times and carriers and all those different data points.
And so warehousing as well. So if you have a 3PL that you're working with versus your own or multiple partners, and going back to that, the shipping time may be a pain point.
Yes, absolutely. If one distribution center is having challenges versus another in either getting things out in a timely manner, or the example I gave earlier in terms of pick, pack, or QA problems, we can definitely identify those. Or if you change a manufacturer, so we had a client that went ahead and started producing a product in a different, with a different manufacturer, and then all of a sudden returns spiked because of it. So we were able to pinpoint that when that change was made, it was the leading cause of the returns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had an experience where it was a long-term SKU, one of our best sellers, and the factory changed the cardboard weight. And it was really drilling into that, again, granular level data of like, wow, it was the cardboard weight that was causing the influx of damage, which then was causing mass returns. So it's like, it truly is the devil is in the details. Looking at a roadmap, and if you're going to embark on this journey of we're going to take returns seriously, we're really going to dig into the details of the data. Who are the stakeholders that should be in the room at the get-go to make sure that this initiative is successful?
I'll take all of them. No, I'm joking.
The whole company.
The whole company, give them all. No. So the stakeholders that we love to have in the room, e-commerce, someone who owns e-commerce and is responsible for the products on the site, how the products are displayed on the site. We love having, brand or product present. As you saw with Ellie's examples, it really allows you to then drive change in terms of product development, product assortment, And if you're a business that is a marketplace for multiple brands and you have buyers, right, it allows the buyers to understand what they should be buying in the future or not buying, and really, negotiate. We sometimes have finance that represents operations that'll be in the room. From a supply chain perspective, fulfillment, that sort of thing. So it varies obviously by organization, because sometimes the organizations are structured differently. But certainly we like operations present, product present, e-commerce to be present. And then marketing is my nice to have. If we could get marketing involved too, that's great, because a lot of the, what we talked about earlier in terms of outreach to the customers post-purchase. So being able to segment on the customer data and say, okay, we want to reach back out to these folks with a win back campaign, or, we want to go after them because they got damaged product and we want to make it right, or whatnot. Having marketing involved is also nice.
Ellie, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think I agree with Christine's point of just, as many eyes as you can get on it as possible is probably good, because, as we touched on earlier, it really does impact all areas of the business. And so I think it's identifying who owns what and, what impact each department can make, and then making sure that those people are clear on the expectations. But yeah, I think, we've certainly been using it very heavily towards product development and, materialization design, as well as, changes to our website and just overall customer and post-purchase experience. So I think, head of e-com, head of ops, head of customer experience, head of product, like those are the ones that definitely need to be in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my experience as well. Marketing was a key player, I found, and our business is a little different. We had a lot of different channels that we were selling to, and those channels like proprietary imagery because of Google search. And I'm sure maybe some people on the call have the same challenges. And so they'll make their own imagery, but they're not the brand or the product expert. And so then you suddenly have an image online that isn't true to the item, but maybe true to the brand for the site that it's on. Or that site may be doing A/B testing and moving imagery around or taking imagery off. Amazon's been infamous for this. And then trying to watch that, and then, putting that in conjunction with getting your marketing team engaged and watching your return rate very closely. It was definitely a takeaway for anybody who works with Amazon. That's bring marketing in when you can. Awesome. Well, I'm going to give some key takeaways here, and feel free to interject, that not all returns are created equal. There are acceptable returns, which I did not know this. I thought all returns were, not good, but it's the unwanted ones that you really want to focus on, because those are the ones that prevent the customer from coming back and have the first time customer not have a great experience. And then we all know that the acquisition of a new customer is very expensive. So you have to look at how does that affect their repurchase rates and what can be done to increase the retention of those first-time buyers utilizing this type of data. That is a definite key takeaway. And having multiple stakeholders in the room at the beginning of your journey to understand where you want to be, what you're doing, and to ensure success is also very top of mind. Anything else to add?
I would just say, it's been hugely important for us in determining product strategy, in terms of what colors people are more likely to keep or return, and what heel heights they're gravitating to, and et cetera. So, in I would say just product strategy has been a really, impactful area that we've been working with Returnalyze on.
Christine, any closing comments?
Yeah, I would just say, returns are kind of that portal of visibility. Another area to allow you to focus on your business and improve your business. So by focusing on your returns, as we talked about before, you're able to elevate your customer experience, increase efficiency and bottom line. So just wanted that.
All very big positives. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christine and Ellie. I appreciate your time. The content was fantastic. Thank you so much to Returnalyze for being awesome partners within the network. We appreciate everything you do and the information that was provided today. And we suggest anybody on the call to have a follow-up conversation with Returnalyze. We'll definitely be making the intros with that post-call. And I'd love to have a conversation with you as well. That's how we get the topics for our future events, whether they be virtual or in person. And we are ready to chat about anything within the digital space, drop shipping, international expansion, SMS. If it's in the digital space, we at BWG want to chat about it. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic week. Take care. Stay safe. I'll see you on the next event. And Ellie and Christine, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.